Thank you for tuning in to Conversations. My name is Richard Frederick. I'm the Executive Director here at CTSB. Today is Thursday, April 25th, and joining me today is Kathy DeVarennes and Phil Smith. Kathy DeVarennes is the Executive Director for the Lee Chamber of Commerce, and Phil Smith is a former Executive Director for the Lee Chamber of Commerce and is now a board member emeritus for the Lee Chamber, and also Phil is the curator of exhibits for the Lee Historical Society. So welcome, both of you. Thank you for coming in today.
Yeah,
and the reason we're here today is because the Lee Chamber turns 100 years old. So there's a lot to talk about, and a lot of history and a lot of photos. And before we dive into the history, let me ask you, Kathy, for those of us at home who are watching, what does the Chamber of Commerce do? Who does it support, and how does it make a community vibrant?
So, good question. We're luckily celebrating our 100th year with 100 members. So we got just over 100 members this year, which was really exciting for us. And we support the businesses. You know, we're just getting over celebrating Earth Day, so people submitted coupons that we put in our weekly newsletter that people could redeem at businesses locally to kind of encourage local business support and shopping local. And through that, we have the weekly newsletter, and that gives people information of what's going on in town, and business can advertise there. We support the businesses in other ways through our website and through our business guide. We encourage tourism with our, we have a rack card that has QR codes, so people can scan those and go to our website and find out good places to eat, good places to shop, where to stay, hikes to go on in the Berkshires, and all those different things that they could do while they're in the Berkshires. And we also get people that will call or email us and say, where can I get my hair cut? Or where can I go to, who can I get for my trash removal? And so we refer people that, I'm surprised at the number of people that call and just ask simple questions like just commerce questions, like what to do in the town or what services. And so we provide that information to them when they call and ask. The flowers in town that you see along Main Street are, supported by the Chamber of Commerce. Decorating the fence posts and the light posts and the tree in the park at Christmas time. So we support all that. We have an annual golf tournament where we award 4 $1,000 scholarships to local students that are graduating from high school. So we do a lot for the the town and the community, and it's
a vibrant downtown.
Yes,
I was getting my hair cut in Main Street yesterday, and all the people and all the cars, and it's. I think we're very lucky, and you're doing a great job because there's not an empty storefront, and it looks beautiful.
Right. Yeah. There are. Unfortunately, there are a few empty storefronts, but we're working to fill those, and and people will call and ask about where they could rent. So then we're able to turn them to the right people that they. Because yes, the busier Main Street is, the better for everybody, and definitely picks up in the summer. In the summer on the weekends, it really is. And we've got a new restaurant opening, and so things are good.
Okay. And the chamber building is located in the park,
correct?
Right?
Yes, good point. We offer brochures about all different places all around Berkshire County, and people can stop in and get brochures and chat with. We have coverage in that booth Monday through Saturday, 11 to 4, and someone's there in the summertime to answer questions and guide people if they want to go on a hike or if they want to go to a restaurant. There's people there that man the booth, all volunteers. So we're very lucky to have,
Wow, great. Can you believe it's been 100 years? for any organization celebrating 100 years is pretty incredible.
Exactly.
And Phil, you seem to know a lot of the details of what's happened over the years, and how things have changed, and how Lee has been historically this really great meeting place for business people.
Yes.
So would you like to start out to take a look at some early photographs?
Absolutely.
And
sure.
discuss some of those?
Yeah.
Okay, well, one of the earliest photographs we have is a piece of paper from Dresser and Company, which is now Dresser Hall. Can you tell me how how Dresser, Hull, and I guess the descendants were part of the Chamber of Commerce?
Sure, yeah. Dresser is one of the oldest business names in Lee, and the company, Dresser Hull, is the oldest. Originally, they were in the coal business. They sold coal to people to heat their homes, and various other things that they sold. It became a building supply place later, but it sold a variety of things over the years. And it was founded by David Dresser, and then much more recently sold to the Shields family in the 1950s. And the Shields family is now in the third generation of ownership. So it's one of our key businesses in downtown, and it also is remarkable or interesting because the man who founded the Chamber of Commerce, Karl Wurzbach, was the president of Dresser Hall at the time. He became the first president of the Chamber of Commerce, and then also he was the man who electrified the town through the Lee Electric Company. He was a very remarkable leader for 60 years in Lee, so that's why we call attention to him first.
And that brings up a good point. So another thing that the Chamber does is the Founders Weekend. So that's been going on for a number of years. And we organize all that and put that all together. So this year we're going to be honoring Dresser Hall and the Shields family during our Founders Day parade. So Dick Shields will be the Grand Marshal, and will be a nice way to celebrate one of our founding businesses 100 years later. So they'll be honored. We have our Taste of Lee and fireworks on Friday night, and then on Saturday, and that's September 20th and 21st. We'll be having the parade on the Saturday, and we'll be honoring Dresser Hall.
Great. It's one of CTSB's favorite parades,
Yes.
and we cover it live every year. And I believe it's either Dresser Hall or the town provides the flatbed truck.
They do.
And
Dresser
we
Hall
can
does.
get cameras up there and things like that. And yeah, it's a great event. Okay, so we're talking, we're 100 years old. We're talking the Roaring 20s here, right? So this is after World War I. We're going through the prosperous time of the 20s. The Chamber's picking up, and Lee is being known as a meeting place for business leaders. And I thought it was funny here. It says the Lee Chamber was instrumental in making the town safe and prosperous.
Yes.
But by safe, what do you mean by?
Well, actually, in the early history of Lee, it was kind of a violent place. There were some areas of town that were pretty tough, and there were violent crimes in the town and so on. But by the time the Chamber was founded, it was actually a very safe, and it continues to be a very safe and comfortable place to live. But the Chamber was instrumental in so much from the beginning. Remember, at that time, town government had, I think, actually no full-time paid employees. The selectmen kind of ran everything. Even in its early history, highway maintenance was done by volunteers who were reimbursed by the town for cleaning up and improving a mile or so of highway. One of the big things that the Chamber did in its early history was to see to the surfacing of Main Street downtown. I've seen it described as a cement structure that was put in on Main Street, but I've also seen macadam, so I'm not sure which type of surfacing they put in. But that was about 1901, 1902 that the Main Street downtown was surfaced for the first time. So if you see any pictures before that, such as the one that's on the screen at the moment, that's an interesting shot. It kind of fits in with what we're talking about, because that gentleman there, who has a big tank on the back of his wagon, if you notice, is actually sprinkling the street to keep the dust down. And also there were a lot of horses that went through Main Street, so you can imagine what that surface was like. Not too pleasant to walk across when it was a gravel surface actually on Main Street through about 1901, thereabouts.
Okay, and there's another shot. Looks like the road. Do you think the road's paved or it's still dirt there? It looks like it could be.
That's still gravel, I think.
Still gravel.
Yeah. And you see horse and wagon. Actually, that has the look of a pretty prosperous town when you think of it. It was already a big paper-making town in the 1920s, and the quarry had come in about 1852, 1853, and it became also Marble Town. So, and the Main Street looks a lot like, those buildings look a lot like they do today. They've been altered a little bit, but not any huge changes, as you can see.
And then the 1930s come and we hit the Great Depression, and I can imagine that was a difficult period for the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, it was a difficult period for everybody. Lee, it seemed to me as if researching this that Lee took a harder hit than any other town in the area, any of the bigger towns in the area. But Lee has, if you look at it today, Lee has a remarkably large business community. Many people who come into town will ask what the population is, and you say 5,700. They think it's 57,000 because of the size of the business community. How many restaurants do we have, Kathy?
I think about 12 to 15.
Yeah, and those would be sit-down restaurants.
Right, yeah.
And there are all sorts of other places where you can get meals. I think up to about 60 businesses that serve food in some form. So, but the chamber has been so instrumental, right from its beginning. There was many streets were not named at the time the chamber was founded. They wanted to get the streets named so it'd be easier to find things. Numbering of streets, keeping Jacob's Ladder Highway open in the winter, which was a very difficult task at that time, and Sandy Beach for the local population. The chamber was instrumental in building bathhouses there and in keeping that a great resource for the town. So.
And there's no Mass Pike, keep in mind, right? So Route 20 is the main east-west thoroughfare, right?
Yes, and that actually didn't become Route 20 until 1926 when the U.S. highway system was organized. But the road that was built, people probably don't know it has a great history because the road over Jacob's Ladder, over through Beckett and so on, it was the first surface highway over a mountaintop in the United States. It was opened in 1910, and it was called Jacob's Ladder for a very good reason. If you've tried to drive it even today, it twists and turns a lot. So it's quite a history to that too.
Yeah, a lot of challenges, for sure.
Yeah.
So I have a picture here of looks like a local Halsey's shoe store.
Yes.
So,
which is a Main Street store, typical of stores that you would have seen between probably about 1855, 1860, up through the 1920s. So that'd be perhaps around the time that the chamber became an organization, actually.
Pleasure Park.
Now, there's a great history there. That was much earlier, before the chamber. That is a horse race track, which was located where the sewage treatment plant is now in Lee on Pleasant Street, Route 102. And that place would attracted some of the top horses in the U.S., which were locally owned, many of them, and by people from Lenox, the mansions in Lenox, who would come to the races here. And they would attract crowds of 5,000 people. There'd be bands playing, lots of food. And 5,000 people was a lot of people in 1880 or in that era.
Okay. Another old photo of Main Street.
Yeah. And that's the Consolati Insurance Building now on the corner of Main and Railroad Street. There was a park there prior to the building of that structure right there. And that structure would have been built right around the turn of the century, around 1900. The Columbia Mill, it probably never really looked that good, but this was probably a picture that was made for advertising purposes. And of course, they always tried to make things look wonderful. But the Columbia Mill is a remarkable place also. It's the place in the United States where they first made mass quantities of paper from trees, because prior to that, all paper was made from rags, basically. And Carl Wurzbach's father, Frederick Wurzbach, was the guy who figured out how to do that, working in a mill in Stockbridge. and he was working with Eliza Smith, who owned the paper company at the time, and they later produced all of the newsprint for one of the major New York newspapers, and that would be shipped on the Housatonic Railroad down to Bridgeport, Connecticut, put on barges and taken into New York City on barges. And that would have been the paper company again was around 1880 for the newsprint that was made from trees. They cut most of the trees in the area actually. It was very open because they cut so many trees.
Yeah, I can see how the chamber was very important. What is this photo here? Is this like a small store on Main Street? A large store?
Yeah, I would guess it was a general store of sorts. The first general store in Lee came in probably around 1820 or 1830, and then eventually stores become much more specialized. But that looks like a general store, the typical general store that was on Main Street, most likely. Not sure about that one. There's another nice shot of Main Street. Interesting story there, too. You see the Main Street is not surfaced there. It wasn't surfaced until about 1902. And almost immediately after they surfaced the Main Street, the trolley line came in, so they had to kind of tear up the street and put the trolley line down the street. So the street may have been a little rough afterward, but... And that's Memorial Hall, of course, that we just went by, and built as a memorial in 1886, I believe, to Civil War veterans, the 38 Civil War veterans who died during the Civil War. A wonderful old building which has been renovated. That's the Greenock Inn. You mentioned before, Rich, the importance of Lee in the tourist industry and the Western Massachusetts business industry, under the leadership of Carl Wurzbach, and people came from Springfield, all over Western Mass, to meet there at the Greenock Inn. Greenock Inn was built in 1902, had a couple of serious fires later, and was actually torn down during the difficult years after the Depression and during the beginning of World War II.
Okay, and again, Kathy, you no.
It does not appear that the DeVarennes family that I married into is closely related to the DeVarennes store owners from Eastleigh. Yeah, that's out from Eastleigh. The Here You Are. And
yeah, and that would be if you're familiar with Route 20 East, that would be Beaver Storage today.
Oh, okay.
In that building, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Great old shot there. That would have been more like the era that the chamber was founded. Those vehicles look like they'd be maybe from the 1930s or 20s, some of them.
Could this be before or after the Depression, do you think?
Probably a little bit, right around the time the chamber was founded, maybe a little later. And that's an old postcard, obviously, that's taken from a great shot of Main Street in Lee.
Sheldon Filling Station.
Yeah, not sure where that was. Possibly Housatonic Street or that area, as there were stations down there.
Okay, so here we are. Looks like we're probably, what do you think, 40s or 50s now? Maybe even into the...
Yeah, maybe 50s. And with the 5 and 10, Lee was noted for a long time, right up to close to the turn of the 21st century. Actually, we had a 5 and 10 store on Main Street, which was a rarity, and also a drugstore with a soda fountain. So it was sort of a quaint combination of stores there on Main Street that we were known for a long time.
Great. So this is about the time the Mass Pike would be coming through in the 50s. Can you talk about, either one of you, about how the chamber was instrumental in making sure that the Mass Pike came through Lee and that there was an actual exit for people to get off?
Well, it was coming through Lee through no fault of our own, but there was a contest between Stockbridge and Lee to see who was going to get the exit. And the selectmen and the members of the Chamber of Commerce actually went to Boston several times and lobbied to have the exit in Lee. And the photo that we see on the screen now is actually the building of what was then exit 2 of the Mass Turnpike, and is now, of course, exit 10. They've changed the numbering. But it was quite a contest, and for once, Lee won out over Stockbridge and got the exit. And the main reason it got the exit was because the mills were here, and they were mindful of trucks coming into Lee and the heavy truck traffic for the mills.
Right, all this limestone that was being trucked out at the time, right?
Yes, still is, in fact. You probably waited behind some of the trucks.
Yeah, but Gateway to the Berkshires, I mean, that really...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So the Gateway to the Berkshires slogan was actually created back, like you're thinking like the 30s
that's
or
what, I was surprised
like
to read that.
Yeah, I think it was created by the Chamber when they did their first promotional booklet, which was around 1926. Which was mailed all over the U.S. to people who had requested it. They were advertising around and promoted the town, and especially promoted tourism in the town.
Okay. Oh, and here's the. So there was also some skiing at the time. Trains were coming into the Berkshires.
Yep.
And this ski resort here was located at was it Oak and Spruce?
Yes. Yeah, this is Oak and Spruce, which is now Holiday Inn Resort, right, Kathy?
Yes.
And there was I don't know if you can see it or not, but there was a rope tow ski area behind Oak and Spruce up on the hill there. And there was also Ski Bear Town, which was farther south and west, which is behind the paper mill in South Lee. If you look carefully at the hillside there, you can see where the ski area was. That Ski Bear Town was the place where the ski trains, as you mentioned, Rich, came in from New York, and it cost all of $2.50 to come from New York and go back on the train for a day of skiing. And sometimes I believe they stayed over. They were there for 2 days. They'd park the train at the bottom of the hill, and the skiers could come in and get warm occasionally. And it was a very good slope, I think, a 900-foot drop originally. And, unfortunately, didn't survive because it couldn't be a modern ski area because of lack of parking.
Right.
They didn't have a place for cars. You had a big area for cars. I think when they stopped, they had 6 parking places available to them. The rest of it all belonged to the mill at the bottom of the hill there. So.
Okay, and now we're looking at, let's see, downtown Lee. I would, by looking at the cars, I'm going to say the early 70s, maybe, something like that, late 60s.
Yeah, not sure of the exact date, but yeah, somewhere in that area. And
so through this time, the chamber grows. In 1977, you created Founders Day from all these little festivals that you were having. It kind of just became Founders Weekend.
Yeah, it was a little later than that. I think somewhere in the early 2000s. But yes, and it's going strong. Every year it seems to get bigger and better, and it seems to be like a weekend where everybody comes home. All people that have moved away come home for that weekend. So it's really special, and the chamber works with all the businesses in town to really get it going, and we're lucky to have the support of the police and the fire and the DPW. Just to, we all work together that weekend, and it works out really well.
Right. What do you hear from businesses these days? What do they need help with? Is there anything in particular, like, I don't know, whether it's advertising or social media? There's a lot to navigate. So
I think the winter's always a slow time. So trying to get more foot traffic in the winter. And also getting more people to shop local. I mean, I think, with Amazon and, Walmart and just people just go online and just order things and have them shipped right to their door. So, I think the shop local piece is big, that a lot of, the businesses really want us to, find ways to get people out and shopping and walking Main Street. And I know in the summer it is a little bit, more, and we've got the farmers market on Saturday down in the park that runs from 10 to 2. So we get, that gets people downtown. And the other niche that it seems like is coming to Lee is like antiques. We have quite a few little antique stores, and we have another one coming. So I think that's seems to be, and that is something you need to go shopping for. You can't just go on and order that stuff online. It's it's a special thing. So I think that's a plus for Lee too.
Sundays, music in the park. CTSB covers all that, and And please let all the local businesses know that they have a TV station here as well, and they can come here, and a lot of them do promote what they sell and what they do, and they have a video to share on social media, and that's all very important, I think, for businesses too, is getting the word out, showing people what they have to offer and things like that. And we're always happy to have a new business in here and let them show the world what they do.
Yeah, definitely. We like I share emails and things like that with all our members of upcoming things so that they can hear about what's out there. Yeah. Another event that we have coming up to really celebrate our 100th birthday is Memorial Day weekend. On May 27th, after the parade, we're having a little event in the park. We're partnering with Souls Fitness and Yoga Lee, a new business in town. And we're going to have events for the kids. We're going to have food. We're going to have music. We're going to have Catherine Winston and Michael Aaron performing from 2 to 4. So it should be a fun day. Everybody will be in town anyways for the parade, so then they can come over and join us as we have some fun and celebrate.
Great. That's excellent. Where should people, to learn more about the Chamber, where should they go? Is there a website?
Yes, we have leechamber.org.
Okay.
Yep, and then my email is director@leechamber. So, and then even visit the information booth if you're downtown and you want to stop in and visit and see what that's all about.
Okay, great. We're almost out of time. There's so much to talk about. I wish we could have talked about history for another hour. Where do you see the Chamber moving into the future? I know it's hard to predict, but so much has happened in the past 100 years.
Right. Well, the amazing thing is, we still print a brochure and we still do all that, but the world is digitized. I mean, a lot of people go on the website and find out things through there. So, and so we try not to print as much, but we do. We have QR codes now where people can just scan the code and go right to our website to find different things. So I see it just going into a more digitized.
Right. And are volunteers important to the Chamber?
Yes. We the volunteers help hang up the hanging baskets. They help decorate for Christmas. They help with the golf tournament. They help tremendously with Founders Weekend. So yes, we're always looking for volunteers, and it's helpful when people step up and volunteer. And our board of directors is especially helpful when it comes to volunteering and the businesses that they're associated with.
Great. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to add or discuss?
Well, I noticed one thing on the photo that we had up there. The photo that's on the screen at the moment up there is the first Lee Chamber of Commerce information booth, which is on the right side, lower right side of the photo. It looks like it's green, painted green. I don't know what it really
It's where that little gazebo is right now, correct?
Yeah, and that building you couldn't even walk into. There'd be one volunteer standing inside the building, and there was a window that opened up on the front. And the main purpose of that was to book rooms in private homes for our visitors who were in the area because there weren't enough hotel rooms. The Chambers had 3 information booths. That one was put in about 1939, and there was one a bit later in the 1950s, and now the present one, which was built around 2000, not 1900.
And Phil does a lot of the painting and maintenance of that building, so which really is helpful when we have the volunteers willing to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's great. We should take a new picture from the same location and add it to the slideshow. So when someone's here in 100 years discussing the 200th anniversary, maybe they'll play our video. Right? So and maybe things have really changed. And I'm going to leave you one little fun piece of information. My grandparents, who lived in Lee, they housed the turnpike workers when the turnpike went through, and they made sandwiches for them every day.
Yeah.
So they would send them on their way to work on the turnpike with their homemade sandwiches. And my grandparents lived here for a long time. My mom grew up in Lee, and I always think about that and just how important that is to the town of Lee when that turnpike came through.
Definitely a big factor in the prosperity of the town. Yeah.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, thank you both for
you very
joining me
much.
today, and I hope we
you.
can get together again soon and talk about some of these things that make make Lee such a vibrant place.
Yeah, we're lucky. It's a great little town.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you both, and thank you for watching Conversations, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Fun.
Yes, it was.
Well, it wasn't too painful.
I felt in the beginning I kind of was a little choppy.